Okay, and you ladies can see. It's fine, eh?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so let's look at a quick run through of lesson 18. We have, again, as I've said before, I keep on saying there are aspects of this that you'll see we've covered already throughout the months and stuff that we were together. Sorry, let's move that up here, and let's talk about being on air. Okay, so why is talent important? Okay, can radio stations survive without world class presenters? The answer is actually yes. We don't need, and it's not obviously it's not recommended, but we don't need world class presenters for a radio station to survive, because at the end of the day, it's a service, and the service needs to do a certain amount of things. So even in mediocrity, like when I say mediocrity, if the job gets done well, it doesn't have to get done massively well. The audience is not going to mind, and I think more than ever now is a good testament to that, because we have we have so much mediocre radio that goes out. But the thing is that we actually, the South Africans live and breathe on radio more so than I've seen a lot of other countries do. And because we are in a situation where yes, you could watch the TV, or you could read news, I say online, whatever it is, and just in terms of what's happening topically, radio stations can't actually uh, they can't actually claim. I say achievement by the mass spike in listenership now during this period, now with COVID-19, right? Because it was naturally we're all going to start listening to radio more in a situation like this, where we are forced between four walls, where it really is real time, it's accurate, there's no fake news, we want to know exactly what's happening, and we also want to be entertained or kept company, right? Because this is like gold for radio. Like, we're loving this right now. Okay, but we don't have to have a station that is like all the best all the time. You know what I'm saying, right? We actually can get by with people who just do their jobs. Is that recommended? No. We obviously want the best people on air for that job. So but there is, if you look at any lineup right now, you cannot with good conscience say that that's the best that they can do. If we look at Metro, that's not, they can do better. If we look at Five, they can do better. If we look at 947, they can do better. With YFM, they can do better. Everyone can do better. Really, they can. And so we want to kind of be able to. We always say we encourage you. Obviously, from our side, we would always encourage you, go be that person that is better than the people that you are listening to right now, and that are doing their jobs very half-heartedly. Okay. Um, I must apologize. Like I said, I actually had flu this week. I'm still recovering, so these snuffles. Yeah. Okay. So it'll be back and forth. Okay. So anyway, let's look at some of the points. If the radio station were a sports car, personalities would be the engine. As I said to you, most they are the last line of well, I'd say the processing line. So everything, like we said in the previous lesson, everything that the station does in the background, it all stops and ends with that presenter and what they say, do, execute, whatever, live and breathe, at the far end. And so we really put a lot of pressure and reliance on that presenter to do their job properly. Okay, if the engine is not at a high performance, the station is not at a high performance. That's just the real thing. So when we find that people are kind of like they're just like, I don't know what the word is now, but they're dropping the ball. There we go. Right. It feels immediately like the station is dropping the ball. And so with their action comes a reaction to the station itself. The importance of being unique. So the thing is, if the two of you, so there's two of you now, and your personalities are I mean, I don't think it's ever fair to say to someone your personality is the same. But the thing is, if you, and I'm not saying that you are, but if I came to you and I said, well, you know what, you're selling me the same product, both of you, and I could hire either one. And it's I got a station, I got a show opening, and I could say I could give it to either one of you, and it would go fine. That's not really that's not a compliment. That's maybe the worst type of compliment that you can get is when someone says that it could be you or someone else. It really doesn't matter. That um, a kind of apathy that someone doesn't see why you stand out more than someone else in this industry is it means very short term, but short term success. So we need you to be unique, but not on that soft and mushy way. I'm saying to you, it's got to be tangible, in the sense that I can literally put my money down on how different you are from the next person that comes, or the person that came before you, right? So how do you achieve uniqueness? Well, you've really got to be able to you've got to amplify, like you got to amplify the best parts of you, and that is how you'll always guarantee uniqueness, right? So where you will meet me, or you will meet someone in your work environment, like that is not even close to how you're going to sound on air. And you've got to, like I say, amplify it by at least 10, the best parts of you, right? So that personality and that X factor, all right, it immediately sets you apart. It immediately engages me. It immediately allows me to lock into you. Okay, and they this is actually it's funny. It's something that I nearly said, and this was when she was a kid. So when we started, she never ever would say, "This is Anele that's speaking." Like it's on air. A lot of DJs will say, this is Chris, and this is 947." You're going to be listening to like the brand new whatever coming up, and I remember. You know, her being asked, "Why don't you say your name on air?" And she said, if someone wants to know my name, it means that I am actually good enough for them to want to know who I am. So they would hear someone speaking on air, doing a show, and find that person so intriguing, they want to go find out more about who it is. Like so, and that made a lot of sense to me. And that was really wise stuff coming from someone when she was only about 20. Let's say she was 20 now, right? So that's a really long time ago. Yeah, but it's a really great it's one of the great things that I remember her saying, and that made a lot of sense to like really pass that forward. You're paid forward to anyone else who was getting into the industry. Okay, so you want to create radio. You want to create great radio is exhausting, but you always aim to create great radio. Okay, but it means finding a compelling way to be very different. The more effort you put into being different, the less likely you will be different, if that makes sense. So the more, so we have like Greg and Lucky, for example, and I have a lot of 947 references again because I spent my entire life there, right? But the Greg and Lucky's of this world, they don't actually belong on air. They don't, even though they've had a fairly successful run. The thing is that they work too hard at being unique, and you see it if you see it from the background, right? So behind the scenes, they work 4 to 5 hours on one show, and that's because they struggle. That's the thing; they struggle to get it right, and they do that even after years and years and years of being on air. I'm not saying you have to spend half an hour, but the thing is that you don't have to actually put a lot of effort in being yourself. You got to put a lot of effort into that the service that you're providing for your listener. And that's really important. Okay. All right. So being unique means that you cannot imitate your way to excellence. Failure is part of finding what makes you unique, right? So we can't to a large extent control how we fail. Okay, we can control how we view failure. And again, just talking from personal experience, which is a big waste of time. Every time I quote unquote failed, I would want to start back at zero. So that actually jeopardized growth for me. It was, because you must take a fail and you must take a good percentage of that as a win. You understand? And growth happens on the back end of your previous say failure, but it's considered growth. So if you keep starting from the very beginning, every time you fail, you literally will sit in the same spot and you'll stagnate for the rest of your until you stop doing that. I was to say rest of your career, but you'll sooner or later wise up to how badly or not negatively affected this that is on you. Okay, so personalities matter when they find their voice. That allows them to stand out of the crowd. There's nothing better than walking into any room. It doesn't matter. This is not from a radio perspective, but knowing, man, I can hold my own here. It's really easy. It's easy for me to stand out should I choose to want to. You understand? So even okay with myself, and it really, so my entire job, my entire career has been about speaking. So with the stroke that happened, like, it killed me, man. This thing killed me. And I actually went to so Nicole, you know Nicole, so she does the second year, and Nicole had her engagement party, and it was and I went to this engagement party, and it was choco block full with everyone, like, that they were friends of mine, but they were obviously in the industry as well. And the thing is, when we all get together, the idea is that you stand out, doesn't matter. And so I felt like I was 21 again. Do you understand? Where I kind of really didn't have my tool to be able to stand out. And because I didn't really have like I say, my voice, and just so easily to kind of like mitigate that personality. But it turned out to be so good once I started to realize that is, it's just there. It just needs some crafting back again, and it's not a situation I was unfamiliar with, because it's so easy to lock into your personality and lock into what it really makes you stand out without effort at all. So I was really glad that I actually went through with that, and actually went, and it was kind of intimidating to be amongst, like I say, kind of the best once again. It was great. And I think that's really where you need to push yourself, is know that wherever it's uncomfortable, for you to test and always sharpen those things that are very natural to you. Put yourself there and just keep sharpening it. Your personality is, again, what's going to keep you in this industry more so, obviously, than any other industry. Because again, where an accountant comes in and does a book like a pro, right? Like, we want to be able to walk in to any situation, a voice over an MC gig, doing a show, whatever it is, and knock it out the ballpark. You understand? So in your own time, I mean, I'm obsessed with Jay-Z, so I always pick stuff from Jay-Z, amongst other people. And here, yeah, I just gave you a bit of a video. You can have a look at one motivational video from Jay-Z right there to have a look at in your own time. Okay. So just some quotes. Great personalities are likable, lovable, and human. They have a heart, and they are like Oprah and Brad Pitt, something that I think we've covered a bit before. You'll see some repetitive material coming in just a moment. Anyway, Bruce Gilbert said that great personalities are genuine, engaging personalities who are comfortable exposing their very souls on air. And that is true. We don't need the overshare. And that is, if you look at it from any perspective, when someone shares information with you that makes you uncomfortable. And that would be the same thing on air. There's a certain line that you don't cross. And I've used that example many times. I'll use it 10 times over, was the whole Masachaba, sex talk, what's his name, that she used to do on Thursdays. I don't know when it was. And she would use the analogy of us saying, for you to be engaging, you need to be able to tell personal stories, but there are certain things you don't need to know about you as a person. You understand? For example, the very intricate details of your sex life. It's not something where it's not because I'm a prude. I think that's the word. It's not that. It's just you can talk about sex. That's fine. But you don't have to tell me about how now you must had, very explicit sex, and this is where we are going to now talk about this particular, topic. There's certain things that you just don't talk about. There's a line that you don't cross, you don't cross. So they're not afraid to open up and share their feelings, opinions, and hopes, fears, dreams. That's all cool. We love that. The more you give, as the more that we want as a listener, and they're comfortable in being themselves. Being vulnerable is lovely. Again, you don't have to. When every time something's forced, so now I want to try and be vulnerable. I want to try and be empathetic. Is the moment any one of those listeners will feel that you are being fake. You understand? So, as easy as it is in your everyday life to be vulnerable or to be empathetic or to be joyful or to be whatever it is, this is how easy it is to do it on air. And that's really important for you to kind of get through and get past. Okay. So let's have a look at some other points in greatness. Okay, so greatness or great personalities have an inherent charisma that attracts others. And again, so you can be an introvert like myself. I am an introvert. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't understand whether the stereotype of being an introvert is a bad thing. Oh no, I'm shy. I'm not shy. I just don't like being the extrovert. It makes you uncomfortable. But does it mean I can't be in an entertainment role? No, that's the absolute bull. You can be an extrovert or an introvert or an in-betweener or whatever it is that you might have learned last year in terms of personalities from Valerie Giller. Like it doesn't matter as long as you can do your job well. So in other words, you feed off. That's the biggest thing. Like the more you feed off attention, which is a good thing, the more you're going to be a better entertainer. Your personality, I say, type doesn't actually matter. It doesn't matter. Just if you're an introvert doesn't mean you have to be in the background or say behind the scenes. You can be any personality and you can be very successful on air. Okay, so the thing is, so when we speak about this quite often in the second year, but this whole thing about personality, I mean, everyone has one. Everyone has a personality. If it's a quote unquote boring personality, I can still sell that. I can sell a boring personality. I just need to tap into what makes this person fantastically boring, and I can sell that very easily. But they got to come along with the ride. I cannot. You can have the biggest personality, but if you don't know how to use it, then there's no point. No one is going to be able to kind of gravitate that personality out of you and towards a listener. Okay, greatness is never found without passion, and it's not possible without drive to succeed. Okay. So the class discussion, which I want you to look at, and you should have access to this. So I changed this from previous years. I think it's a really nice exercise that we can do together. Is using the supporting document, which is 5 tips for breaking into the broadcasting industry. You need to be able to tell me how you will tap into the community. You will make the most of your social media. You will use transferable skills, which is like, in other words, support skills. Like, can you do video editing? Can you do sound editing? Are you a good? How does this complement like the way that you are unique and I can say an asset to a radio station, TV station, newspaper, I don't know, whatever media thing it is. How are you an asset over and above just being a presenter? And then creating your own opportunities. How do you do that, and how do you network? I thought it was a really great exercise for you to really start taking stock and understanding. Okay, listen, I've got to start working on certain things. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, how would you describe some great talent and make everything seem really easy without feeling as though it is now easy? Because I did say to you, it doesn't take a lot of effort to be able to hone in on your personality. When you get it right, that's not supposed to be the focus of your job. The focus of your job is supposed to be the actual I said the touch and feel of it. So, in other words, prepping the right content, to making a great interview, to be able to execute a very slick, a very entertaining, one of a kind type of show. That's what you want, right? I don't want to be wasting time on having to focus again on my personality and my strong points. That should come naturally to me. Greatness is a product of an enormous amount of hard work applied over time. And if you have the drive, discipline, dedication, you're going to become super great. And that's true. Nothing truer than that. Natural talent is not a prerequisite for success. Although we'd like you to not waste time. If you don't have a natural talent for something, you're going to take twice as long to get it right as someone who does have it. Let's go circa back to the Greek. Lucky story, like you don't want to spend, like I say, 3 or 4 times the amount trying to be great because you don't have the natural talent for it. Okay, so then this is something that you've seen before, and so I'm going to kind of skip over this, where we spoke about these characteristics of each person. Sorry, it's lightly colored there. But you remember this, where we spoke about vision, discipline, effort, practice, and courage. So I'm not going to go through this again. We have covered this already. But this is just where it fits into as a refresher. Okay. So Alan Burns conducted an extensive study comparing traits of the most prominent morning shows in America, then the study investigated many types of personalities in various formats, both current and past. Each show was a winner in their own market, but with many years of consistent performance. So the startling discovery is that regardless of the format, station, market, or target, most of the shows shared common behaviors. For example, consistency in terms of like engagement with, like constant engagement and relevant conversations with their listeners. They had a topical, relevant, content that was there. They they were on time. All these things that are behavioral encouragements to you as a personality and as a skilled professional, all came up in this particular study. So let's look at some of those, and we'll close up this particular lesson. The first one is leadership. So the best talent direct their staff. And most of your career, you'll be doing a show on your own. It's there are very few shows that actually are conducted by teams, right? So you only have your breakfast, your drive, and then like I say, you'll have, like, for example, your lunch shows on Metro that are done by a double header, a duo, with Thomas, and I think it's what is her name now? It's anyway. Point is, like,
Thomas and Phil.
thank you. Right. So there are some duos that we have there, but the thing is that it's going to be a long time before, and also you should actually not want to be part of a team for the longest possible time, because you need to be able to hold your own, and hold your own. You will. You understand? That's what you want. You mustn't be able to depend on someone else to make a show good. So the best collaboration is always achieved by presenters that have had success in their own entirety on their own, in their own capacity. Sorry. Then let's put two people together. Let's put three people together, whatever it is, because we know that they can come in and contribute to a full capacity as opposed to being a dependency, right? So that's a kind of a liability if we look at it from that perspective. Um, so we don't want we're looking at people that can actually hold their own. Okay, the host doesn't hog the spotlight, and the main thing is that even if you are sharing the quote unquote spotlight or the microphone with someone else, like who cares? Like they're not you and you're not them. So in other words, the moment you understand that you offer something that no one else does, you can share that mic with 30 people and you won't care, because every time you open your mouth, like no one can compare with what you're going to say, do, etc. Okay. So then role definition, that brings us to role definition, where we get so many jocks. The one that always comes to mind is Melanie from, well, I don't know if she's still there. I'm sure she is in some capacity on Metro. Like whenever you would
Yeah.
listen to Melanie, right?
Yeah, I love her. Yeah.
She's great, but she always talks out of turn. So she's supposed to do the news, but she's always talking. She's always king talking, and but it is so annoying. You understand? Because the thing is
But
that
you know what? Because
yes,
he she now is with Thomas and Pearl.
she with Thomas and Pearl now. You see that she
Yeah,
is it?
and because Thomas is a, I don't know what you call those people. I know you have a term for them that are able, because they're so
Oh,
experienced and they're veterans.
yes,
They're able to
control her.
nurture.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Mm.
isn't that funny? Because she's always been with someone big. I'm saying like a veteran, like you say there. But I haven't heard that. I haven't heard it on the show with Thomas. But I can believe what you're saying because he's so good that I'm thinking that she found comfort and security in what he then generates. You understand? So if she is more under control right now, I can believe that it's because she feels validated in where she sits. You understand? And the thing is that she is a great contributor. We want people who can talk with purpose. You understand, right? We want so go ahead. But it isn't. You see, it isn't. It's Thomas and Pearl. It's not called Thomas, Pearl, and Mel. See, and that's no, but it's for a reason. And you people are laughing, but I'm not trying to make a joke. I'm not mocking or whatever. I'm trying to say they didn't, after so many years, they made Pearl the co-host. They didn't make Mel. You understand? And it's for a reason. She needs to be there to do her job. You understand? Like, which is she's supposed to be there. She's for the news. You understand? She always has been. And so let her be there for that. Do you understand? Let her be there for that. Um, Anyway, but again, she's like playing the role. So playing a role definition, you can be a great traffic presenter and people will love you for it. But the moment you be a traffic presenter trying to be a funny co-host, people don't like that. When there is already a funny co-host there already, and now you're trying to be you understand, now you're trying to cross lines. And you see, people expect the context of what you're offering to them. And if there is someone already on in that same exact slot that is doing that job already, like you become actually an annoyance when you stop focusing on your role and you're trying to do someone else's job for them. So role definition is a big deal. Interesting perspective comes from having an opinion. Okay, and everyone has an opinion, but the thing is, you really need to harness like that power of having an opinion. because you can be opinionated and people won't like you. But you can have an opinion and people love that type of leadership in thought. You understand? So there's even an exercise where it's coming, I think, in lesson 19 or whatever it is, right? Where I say to you, you know what? It's not a, when you start expanding your knowledge about this particular medium or wherever you are, like we want people with perspective, right? So you want to have an opinion about stuff, and you need to start growing that strength about anything and everything, even within the industry itself, but also about, like I say, sports. It's about this whole faff thing. Like you got to start having an opinion about the way things are because that's a conversation starter. We enjoy that, but we don't like people that are opinionated. The same way in an office, you go to work, there's someone that's extremely opinionated. No one listens to them. They don't. You understand? So why would they listen? Listen but on a public platform that's for free, that is now I'm choosing out of privilege. Why would I now go and irritate myself with someone that's super opinionated, right? And you're going to tell me again there are jocks that are super opinionated and very successful, but the thing is that becomes a bit of it becomes a bit of a smart word I'm looking for. It's like novelty, right? That's cool. It's novelties are also nice. They last quite short and they entertain people very highly. So we're going to talk about podcasts, and we're going to say what the highest podcasts are ones that are listened to that you review just they review or they break down shows. But the thing is that people only listen to that once. They only listen to it once. So they love the show. For example, I think gave you an example of Game of Thrones, right? So it was the official podcast for Game of Thrones, and people loved Game of Thrones. They loved it. They just loved everything. So they obviously listen to this podcast, but they will not listen to that podcast twice, because it is literally only topical for that particular period of time. I can't go back to it, and I kind of going off the point, but I'm saying, like, you got to be able to, you might understand it that you got to have longevity in what you're saying as well. So I'm going back to the shock jock thing. It's cool. You become a novelty. With your personality is the worst thing you can do to yourself. And again, for your career. Okay, let's finish up before this thing ends. Okay, so just some notes there. Topics fell when nobody cares, and you got to use a who cares meter to move forward. Buzz generators. So they talk about a shock. If there is I say material or content that is of a shocking nature, and you are not a shock jock, or you must still attack it, because what might be shocking to you might not be shocking to someone else. And also when it's taboo, right? You must still talk about it if it is what everyone else is talking about. But we want to be able to always talk about whatever the buzz is amongst our audience. Okay. So winning personalities appeal to a wide range of emotions, and buzz happens when personalities connect with listeners on an emotional level, right? We love empathetic, we love emotional. It always works, and it never will not work. Okay. And let's look at the last one, which is benchmarks. Okay, a strong link to greatness is being known for something. So don't be known for just doing that one amazing thing that stood out, for doing amazing things that stand out, right? For being that person that has an like the strongest connection with their listeners, that does great things for the community, that has moved the industry in a certain way. I don't know what it is that defines you in terms of greatness, but like, be known for that, right? And you become known for something by establishing awareness through benchmarks. Okay, so always keep resetting your benchmark, your levels of success, so that what you measure yourself as a benchmark, always once you've mastered that benchmark, move it up a notch, right? move it up a notch, make it bigger, make it better, make it slicker. You know, that's what you want. You can only compete with yourself. That's then you have healthy growth. Okay. And this is where we end, which is Kid Craddock's series of one, which I think we've covered before, but this will be the exercise where it's one thing per quarter hour, so every 15 minutes that commands attention, like for example a live promotion. It's execution to what will be happening. For example, it is a call out. One thing that's an hour that causes a response, so that is most definitely a call out, where it is a competition, where it is a promotion that requires right now you to go and register via whatever, or send us a tweet with the hashtag whatever. Okay, one thing per day that is shareable. That is so that doesn't mean us creating online content to be shareable on online content. It also means like I'm doing something, you go and talk about it with your friends, your family. Like that's the sweet spot, right? Then you know you've had an impact on that person's life because you made yourself memorable, which goes to one thing per quarter year that the listeners will remember for good, and one thing per year that makes you legendary. Okay. All right. So that is the lesson. I'm just gonna stop this recording here quickly in a second.